S mark low.
మంచి ముక్కగా నన్ను
பரவாயில்ல. ஒரு வாரம் ஆயிடுச்சு, ஒரு வாரத்துக்கு மேல ஆயிடுச்சு. போன செவ்வாய்க்கிழமை வருது. வேற டிபார்ட்மெண்ட்ல இல்ல, ஏகப்பட்டது வச்சு. அதோட அதோட சதீஷ், ஆமா நிறைய சத்யனா
the students who are where all the industries are running and they are taking students for access. But the thing is, they have to definitely train the students for 1 month or 2 months. Then only they can actually take back to their field. So this is happening in India. So to break that, so we are introducing the concept. So we are connecting the students to the industry now. So you can directly interact with the industry people, not only within India, even the industry people from any other countries. So we get in this workshop from USA and from even India. There are some speakers. So you can directly interact with them and you can actually know the happenings, the current things which are happening in the industry. So this is the concept of IPAR 21. So actually 2 years back, the students, if you refer your syllabus book, you can see in the 5th unit of your syllabus of each and every course, there is a sentence called the current stream of thoughts. It is added. So it is purposefully added 2 years back by revising the entire program syllabus. So that is the way. So now we are introducing this interface to support the current thoughts. That's the concept of IQR 21. So you can interact with the industry people. By interacting with them, you can get some ideas and you can orient some project or you can do some small research towards the need of the particular industry. So after completing your degree, so you can directly move to that industry and you can have some contact with them. You can submit your proposal or you can show you the results of your study related to their field. So by this way, we are reducing the gap between the industry and the students. So that's the concept of this IQR 21. So I appreciate the organizers, the director of the workshop and all other organizing secretaries. They are taking the care in fixing the speakers. So you see, there are 4 speakers, 3 from industry, 1 from academy. So it's a very good trend here. So in this regard, so Department of Horticulture is actually fast in this space. So I appreciate and I thank the Department of Horticulture for taking this concept forward. And I thank everyone for having the opportunity to give you all here. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. It will be not assured that even our honorable team, Dr. S. Ganapathy, faculty of agriculture, the supporting pillar of our faculty to deliver the inaugural address. Please note.
Morning to everyone. I was director of the workshop of Quinone, head of the Department of Anthropology, and director of ICSC advisor of Orchids of Horticulture, Department of Horticulture, of Natura, Organizing Secretary, the director of the workshop, and the organizing body of the Department of Horticulture, faculty members, student friends. I think the United States nothing more that somehow is good, very surprising, interesting. And this type of workshop is very well connected with Untitled, because some of them were situation that it is that things are being done for the peak of it, but there is a process behind it. So very nice Department of Horticulture and PE organizing this like work. So I thank the person and nostalgic movements to see how my students speak this morning. So I welcome Dr. Vrida. I think it was my first student, revived in 1987. Replacing that teaching on molecular farming. So being at the end of 5 years of our service, William's been experiencing technology. We learn mathematics, we learn how to compute only to the environment. Never got to use a calculator, never got to use any advanced instruments. We learned it by even I don't use the integrator, so that things are really changing. Nice to see that at least we are facing this technological improvements, technological tools. So very nice that at least we are in a position to see that and experience. I would like to thank the speakers for having accepted speaking for this light work. Dr. Vrida, Dr. Chandra Kumar, Dr. Shakti and Mr. C. Bala, very nice. The students, it's your interest that should be very needed so that you get involved in it. So it is an opening for you to go higher studies or become into business or become an entrepreneur or get into some business. So this is very interesting to start to get to know more about it. And I hope this workshop will be very beneficial, good, and the delivery will be very worthwhile to our problem. I think there is a knowledge. Thank you very much.
We are now at this topic Department of Horticulture. Give us insight about the workshop. Please start. Profile start personality with a gentle quality. With all that right to the ball and a diagnosis cycle vision. Now there is none of the we are grateful to the support of the staff. I remember the words of Arvind Sharma, the writer of this book, was very clearly stated that people who are messages stop the discussion. So we enjoy our leadership by accommodating the accommodated as the more and then because of the day. The respect of social commitment, the environment, the young mind, to speak the curriculum based on horticulture. This workshop is to throw light on molecular farming, potential avenues in horticulture activities. I trust the director who has brought the capacities of the organizing to the process. Congratulations, madam. Always there lies the hope for improvement as well as development. With infinite possibilities that lies a few steps ahead. So students, do use this knowledge as a platform by catching the spark thrown by the speakers who are pioneers in their pathway. And now over to our night.
Thank you, ma'am. Now it's time to get into our technical section.
who I proud of introducing Dr. Brenda and both as PhD and the alumni of our institution. Now she is working as a vegetable in the state startup called Untitled Bio Incorporated in California, focused on offering superior germplasm and digital services. Coupled with staff learning and agronomic insights for vertical farming sector. How is the development of plant cultivars and hybrids and the optimized level of biomolecules combined with desirable agronomic traits used for extraction and formulation of products such as antioxidants, antimicrobials, specialized proteins, and carotenoid used in foods, feed, etc. She offered 12 patents and published many articles in national and international journals. When I invited for this program, she immediately started. I thank Brenda for your acceptance and I welcome you to take over the session. Welcome you, Brenda.
Thank you, Anbarani. Can you hear me? Hello? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Hello, Anbarani, can you hear me? Hello?
Hello, Brinda, பேசுங்க கேக்குது.
Okay.
Yes, speaker ma'am, you are audible. Please proceed.
Okay, thank you very much. So first of all, on the onset, I'd like to, I think it's echoing. So on the onset, okay. So on the onset, first, I'd like to thank for inviting me for this wonderful session that you have on opportunities on molecular farming and prospects of the same. I'd like to especially thank Anbarani for taking the initiative to make arrangements. I wanted to let you know it's 10 o'clock for me in the night, and I'll try to be as awake as possible. But before I go on to my talk, I want to recognize a few people and thank them. All the organizers, including Anbarani, all my colleagues and classmates, and Dr. Shekhar, with whom I worked at the MS Swaminathan Foundation, who laid the foundation for my career, and as well as all the professors who taught me when I was a grad student and an undergrad student at Ornamental University. Thank you very much. I'm very pleased to be here to present this, to give this talk. So I'm going to share my screen. Please let me know if it is visible. Can you see my screen?
Yes, ma'am.
So you can see my presentation? Okay, excellent. So as I mentioned, the title of my presentation is Molecular Farming. Particularly, I'm going to be talking about the opportunities and the prospects that's available in this particular area. And most of my talk is going to be totally directed towards the actual work that I did and the real first-hand experience that I've had in this field. So, I want to call what plants as what is called as phytofactories, because plants are made up of very complex molecules. And when I talk about molecules, these are molecules that you always come across in your everyday life. This could be in the form of the food that you eat. This could be in the form of clothes that you would wear, or this could be in the form of, your pets would eat. So these kind of molecules are something that we come across our life on an everyday basis. But some of these molecules are synthetic, which means they are produced in some kind of bioreactors. Some of them are petroleum-based products. And so those are non-renewable and unsustainable, which is not we want, especially when we are going through this phase of global warming. But I want to talk about the opportunity of using plants as a source of our plants as a source of these phytofactories. So plants, as all of you know, utilize the sunlight and carbon dioxide and fixes food. So because of this is natural. It's also a renewable source, and it's also sustainable, and which is what we want at this point of time in the world. So what is molecular? I think it's echoing. Okay. So what is molecular farming? I'm sorry, Anbarani, it's echoing a lot. Hello? Okay, thank you very much. So what is molecular farming, right? So anything where you can use a living cell or a plant to create molecules. Anbaran, it's still echoing. Hello? Okay, so let me proceed. Just reach out to me in case you can't hear. So what is molecular farming, right? Anything that you use a living organism, in this case plants, to produce molecules that you would utilize in your everyday life. The art of farming it is really called as molecular farming, right? So I mentioned we utilize a lot of these molecules in our everyday life. There are so many of them I could list out here, but I'm only going to talk about a few that you probably would have had a direct connection in your life. For example, antioxidants. So antioxidants are something that actually increases the shelf life of a food. I pulled out an example of a burger because a lot of you would have probably had a burger in McDonald's or Burger King. So have you ever thought about how those chicken patties that they keep in the refrigerator stays for a long time? And by the time they take it out and then put it in a burger and give it to you, it still retains the flavor and as well as the texture and the taste. It's because of some of the antioxidant that gets applied on those chicken patties in order to keep it safe and tasty. Similarly, antimicrobials. So you all know that microbes can develop in any kind of food particles. So imagine keeping processed meat in a shelf for a long time and not having microbes grow. Antimicrobials. In this case, because of COVID, you keep washing hands with a sanitizer that has antimicrobials. So these are some things that we use in our everyday life. Many of us are interested about health. So we take multivitamins. We want to remain strong. So there are some nutraceutical products that are coming out of plants, or as well as using synthetic molecules. There are a lot of proteins that people take. We're all concerned about weight loss and increasing our muscles and muscle strength. So protein is a very vital food that we all have in our diet on a daily basis. Needless to say, drugs, vaccines, they all are produced either from a recombinant DNA molecule or some of them from plants. And these days, a lot of personal care products tell that they have herbal based because they have some plant-based products in them. So day-to-day life, whether we use a shampoo or whether we eat a burger or whether we take multivitamin or whether we apply a cream onto our face, one way or the other, we are interacting with the plants on a daily basis. So for my talk today, I'm going to be talking about these 4 different molecules. Again, plant-based antioxidants, plant-based antimicrobials, plant-based nutraceuticals, and plant-based proteins, where I've worked with, and I've had a few patents and publications that have come out of this work. Needless to say, I work for a commercial company. So unless and otherwise these products make money, it is meaningless. So some of these products are actually commercial and being sold, heavily, both, across the globe in several different countries. So first, let me touch upon natural antioxidants. So I said anything that comes out of the plants are labeled as natural. So I mentioned about antioxidants are molecules that prevent oxidation. If next time when you go to a Burger King or you go to, for example, a supermarket and buy a processed chicken, turn around the label and then see what they say on the label. They probably would say that it is preserved using BHA or BHT or propyl gallate and so on and so forth. Those are all synthetic antioxidants. These are all molecules that are made in the lab or in the factories. They are very cheap, but at the same time, they're not very healthy. On the other hand, natural antioxidants are derived from plants, and they're far more complex molecules, but they're far more effective and very much sustainable source. And these are some complex molecules that it is very hard to synthesize in the lab, but plants, on the other hand, have the natural capacity of making these molecules. So throughout my presentation, when I talk about how we measure these molecules in the lab, these are some of the instruments that I have used. Some of them are like HPLC, high pressure liquid chromatography, GC, that is gas, using gas chromatography, and mass spectrometry. So these are all some of the instruments that we use to measure these molecules in the lab. And some of the molecules that I have worked with directly are carnosic acid, carnosol, rosmarinic acid. These are all antioxidants. Ascorbic acid has citric acid, but it's also an antioxidant. Tocopherols is vitamin A, and that's also antioxidant. Thymoquinone, carvacrol, and thymol, those are all antimicrobials. But I also did a lot of work on 2 important carotenoid, those a few slides. So first, I want to talk about rosemary extract. So rosemary extract is commonly found. You can go to Google or you can go to Amazon and buy look for rosemary extracts. You might get some, but most of the rosemary extracts that are used in the industry are manufactured as an ingredient and sold to different business units. So rosemary is a perennial plant that grows in the Mediterranean region. It is rich in carnosic acid. The molecular structure of carnosic acid is shown here. Again, it's an antioxidant. So it delays the oxidation and enhances the shelf life. I already said that it is extensively used to increase the shelf life of processed meat, flour, and other food items. For example, here in the US market, if you come in and see, they sell what is called as tortilla, that is like our chapati. And it is just made and kept in the aisle at room conditions. But what happens is even after a prolonged period of time, they stay fresh. Similarly, these patties that they use, different kinds of meat patties they use, they process it in a processing center, and then it gets shipped in large trucks to different places. In spite of that, it remains fresh, it remains with the color and with the texture and with the taste. And this is all because of these antioxidants that are applied onto them. I worked on this rosemary extract in a company called Quinone Industries, where rosemary extract was actually formulated and sold into different industries. So what was my job there, right? I'm a breeder. So my job was really to develop a variety, which I did, which has high levels of carnosic acid so that the company could actually grow them and harvest them and bring them into the company and extract them and sell them, right? So during my period of work in Quinone Industries, I don't work there anymore, but when I was working there, I developed this variety called KI 937, which was actually, the patent was issued in 2020, awarded to Quinone Industries. That's where I work. Right now, it is being grown in USA and in Europe, and it has got very high levels of carnosic acid. The biomass is extracted in the USA using a patented process. It involves utilizing a solvent to extract these molecules, and then formulated and sold into, as I said, animal foods and pet foods and human foods, right? So of course, humans eat a lot of fresh and processed food. But think about pet foods, right? Pet foods in across the Western world, there are a lot of pets. And these pets, they always get fed by this processed food. So if you go into any supermarket, you will see very large bags of pet foods, and all of those pet foods have meat in them, or and they have to be preserved for a long time. Sometimes pet foods are stored for several months because they are all enriched with this antioxidant so that they don't get rancid. So I went through a normal breeding program to develop this variety KI 937. The uniqueness of this variety is that it has got very high levels of carnosic acid. You can see here in this graph, the orange bar actually shows the percentage levels of carnosic acid, which is nearly 10%, compared to something that is shown here on the far right in a gray bar, that is an unselected rosemary plant. It has got only about 3% carnosic acid. So you can imagine the impact of improving the carnosic acid levels in a rosemary, what it means, making it from 3% carnosic acid to 10% carnosic acid. So the profit increases for the company, the cost reduces for the company, thereby the net profit increases, and as well as they're able to capture the market. In addition to that, because this is natural, it reaches the premium customers, they have a premium price, and as well as they're able to capture the market share very nicely. So this was a very impactful variety that we developed, and the patent has been awarded to Quinone Industries. Just very briefly about the breeding program itself. When I did this, it was a long time back. We made a cross between one known male and one unknown female and one known male. And the F1 was developed. And then we went through a round of selfing and screening, and finally took them to the field, evaluated them before we scaled them up and started growing them. So while we were doing this, we also had to make sure that the rosemary variety had the highest level of antioxidant activity, which means we need to look for the efficacy of the rosemary extract. For this, there is a very classic way of looking at how you measure the oxidative activity of the rosemary extract, which is called as the OSI measurement. So in the left graph here, you see two lines, right? Both of them are two breeding lines, KI 85 and KI 28. Those are two breeding lines. And the extract was obtained, and then applied onto ground poultry material. And it was kept at room temperature, and we kept observing the rancidity, that is how long can the poultry meat can stay in the refrigerator without getting degraded. So here you can see one of the breeding material, that is Ki-85. The extract applied using Ki-85, that poultry meat actually started getting bad at about 15 hours. Whereas the extract with Ki-28 actually stood all the way up to about 30 hours with the highest dose of carnosic acid extract. So what it means is that the higher the carnosic acid levels in the plant and in the extract, the longer the meat can be kept. The same thing is actually showed in the right side graph. Actually, here you can see these are all a number of breeding lines. And in the last end, you can see the untreated poultry. And you can see that Ki-28, the extract from Ki-28 actually kept the meat really fresh and with the color and the taste as long as 30 hours compared to untreated poultry fat, which actually lost its flavor and color and started degrading less than 5 hours. So this was a proof that showed that the variety that we developed was actually having higher antioxidant activity and efficacy. And so we were able to go ahead and patent the line. Now, our job doesn't stop right at patenting itself. We work in a company, we also have to make sure that the patent is protected, right? Any IP that we develop has to be protected so that the competitor cannot take it and start using it. So for that purpose, my lab, actually, we developed a number of SNP based, we sequenced this Rosemary line, and then we developed a number of SNP based Cas markers. These are very much diagnostic. We use a qPCR to really amplify and make sure that the correct allele is present. So we were able to create a marker profile for the breeding lines. You can see here K9371005 K28 on the right side, and our art is a competitor line, so that when a competitor comes in and takes material by any chance, we are able to go to the court and fight out the patent and retain the IP that we have developed. So, you know, anytime when we generate a product, we also have to find ways where we can protect the IP. So I'm going to stop talking about rosemary now and switch gears and talk about spearmint extracts. All right. So spearmint is a plant you all know, you have seen it, you use it on a daily basis probably. So it's also a perennial plant and it grows globally, right? But it has got a different kind of antioxidant called as rosmarinic acid. But the activity of the rosmarinic acid is the same. It prevents oxidation of the cell, but except that if you look into the structure of the rosmarinic acid, it is more hydrophilic, which means it's water soluble. So the rosemary extract, using the carnosic acid from the rosemary extract is hydrophobic, which means it only works in solid. But whereas the antioxidant from spearmint is hydrophilic, which means it is soluble in water. And so it works to preserve the liquid material as well. So there are a lot of products that are being utilized using rosmarinic acid or the spearmint extract. But one of the products that are really popular is what is called as Numentics, again, marketed by Quinone Industries. It is sold as a cognitive product and it increases the working memory. So what is a working memory? For example, I can remember what I studied at Atamla University about 20 years back or 25 years back, but I cannot remember where I parked my car today in a shopping mall. I go to a big mall, there are like 2,000 cars there. I put it in a parking lot and then I forget where I parked. So or you could go to a store, you want to go to a store and then you say, I have a list of things to buy. I have to buy milk, I have to buy sugar, but then you forget buying sugar and then you come back home. Okay. That is not because you've lost the memory. You just didn't remember that part. That is called as working memory. So this Numentics, actually, it's made up of spearmint extract and it works beautifully well in increasing the working memory, which is all what we need because often a lot of us do multitasking. So my job was to really develop a spearmint variety that had high levels of rosmarinic acid. And the reason is because spearmint really does not have a lot of rosmarinic acid. It has got very small levels. but we were able to go in and do some very specialized breeding activities. So we were able to develop a variety that had very high levels of rosmarinic acid. That's called as KI-110. It is right now grown in USA. There's actually 2 of them, KI-110 and 42, grown in USA. It's also being extracted using a patented process. It's formulated and sold in all kinds of businesses, including pet foods and human health platforms as well. So I told you about having very high levels of rosmarinic acid. Here you can see here in this graph, this is a very commercial spearmint that you could just get anywhere else. It's got very hardly small amounts of rosmarinic acid, but on the other hand, 2 varieties that me and my team developed has actually really high levels of rosmarinic acid, as you can see here in this graph on the left side. Probably like 3 or 4 times the levels that you would see in a normal spearmint. Again, what that does is, apart from a new product strategy, it also allows the company to reduce the cost of the goods and as well as have a higher profit in their product. Normally, spearmint is used for oil extraction, but in this case, oil levels in Ka-42 and 110 were less. So that is good because we didn't want this variety to be used for oil purposes. So, however, we had to have understand the profile of these 2 varieties and understand how is this different from other spearmint varieties. Obviously, just like rosemary, we had a number of SNP-based markers that would protect the variety itself. But apart from that, we also created a biochemical profile where you can see here, the native spearmint has a molecule called as carvone, which is shown here, number 15. Carvone is the one that gives the minty smell. On the other hand, the 2 spearmint varieties that we developed was actually missing carvone, because of which it did not have the minty smell. But as a matter of fact, it was very different compared to the native spearmint. So that's all about antioxidant work that I've done. I'm going to talk a little bit different now about the proteins. So I had an opportunity to work on a particular protein called PI2. It's proteinase inhibitor 2. Some of you who work on plant defense mechanism would understand that. This is a protein that is naturally produced by the plant when an insect attacks, when it senses an insect attack or a pathogen attack. So it's a self-defense mechanism for the plant to release this protein. However, this molecule PI2, it's also known as a CCK, which means that if this protein is consumed by us, you will have the feeling of fullness. That means you won't feel hungry. So therefore it is sold as a satiety product, especially in areas or in population where weight loss is a problem, where people are trying to reduce the weight, they want to eat less. So this is used as a molecule. So if you take this molecule, right, if you consume this, you would not feel hungry. So thereby, your intake of food will be less. Bizarrely enough, this is extracted from potato. Potato is a starch plant, but it has got very tiny amounts of this protein, and this molecule works really well as a satiety product. So my job here again was to do a breeding program, was to develop a potato variety that had very high levels of this molecule. That way, the company can actually reduce the cost of extracting of this molecule, right? So I developed a variety called K964. This was also patented, and the patent was issued in 2018. Again, went through a classical breeding program. You can see here a standard variety called Russet Nugget has only about 60 or 70 milligrams of PI2 on a dry matter basis, compared to this variety K964, which had 220 milligrams of PI2 in the final extract. So that is like a 4 times increase that you could normally see, and obviously that reduced the cost of the product significantly. So apart from that, we also did some very nice studies. This was in the field with the agronomist I worked with. So to understand really when does the accumulation of the molecule maximize? So does PI2 accumulate the early stage of the crop, or does it accumulate at the later stage of the crop? And here again, we published this paper here. And you can see here in this left graph, there are 2 varieties, 34 and 18. And H1 to H5 actually represents 5 different harvest stage. And as you can see, the crop actually, the latest stages of the crop actually has the higher levels of the molecule. So this actually helped the farmers to manage this crop efficiently, so that when the potatoes were harvested and brought for extraction, they actually had the higher levels of these molecules, thereby reducing the cost of extraction for the company. Now, switching gears here, I want to talk a little bit about my experience working with carotenoids. This is a very interesting group of molecules, and you will be amazed to see the amount of variation that exists for these molecules. So first of all, carotenoids from plants is a huge market. The recent estimates is actually nearly $1.4 billion globally, right? China plays a very major role. US plays a very major role in this global market. Carotenoids are actually widely used. They're used in animal feed. They're used in nutraceuticals, pharmaceuticals, and personal care, right? So there are several different carotenoids. Some of them are listed here: lutein, zeaxanthin, quercetin, lycopene, alpha carotene, and beta carotene. But all of those, I worked with these two molecules, lutein and zeaxanthin, over the last few years. So before we go into the details of the projects, I just wanted to slightly touch upon the carotenoid synthesis pathway in plants, right? So this is a very well studied pathway. If you go into literature and Google search for carotenoid synthesis pathway, you'll come up with a number of papers. It's been very well studied in Arabidopsis. It's been very well studied in marigold and many other plants. So there are 23 carotenoids in the pathway. Of those, these two, lutein and zeaxanthin, are really, really important for our health. And the only source of these carotenoids for human beings are from diet. So given that situation, as the world tends to move towards faster food, the diets that we consume don't have these molecules. So how does it affect us, right? So first of all, carotenoids are really important for human eye health, right? So for example, we have what is called as retina in our eyes, and these two molecules, lutein and zeaxanthin, are very much essential, and it is deposited at the back of a retina. So if we don't have these molecules in our eyes, what happens is we get what is called as AMRD, age-related macular degenerative disease. What this means is that you will start having a very fuzzy vision, and it is not something that can be reversed. You cannot have a surgery to fix it. You cannot wear glasses and fix it. So this is becoming a problem, particularly in the Western world. But these days, I've also seen reports where this is extending to the Asian countries, including India. This is because AMRD happens because of increasing use of blue light. We use our phones, we use our laptops, we watch TV, we have lights all the time, and all of these actually increases the chances of getting this age-related macular degenerative disease. Macular is a portion in the eye, and that degenerates, and that is what causes the blurry vision, and sometimes completely we lose the vision, right? So the only way to avoid this is to have carotenoids in our food. Now, because the Western world does not have diet that consists of these carotenoids, they are actually going to have to take supplements, and they do take supplements that are rich with carotenoids. And if you go talk to an eye doctor, he'll probably explain to you about why this is really important. So my job in the company, when I was working for the company, was really to start understanding the nature of this molecule in the plants, and have or execute a breeding program where we can increase the lutein and zeaxanthin in plants, right? So of all the plants, carrots, papaya, or any kind of squash or pumpkin, whatever you eat, there are a certain number of carotenoids, but marigold, that is the African marigold called Tagetes erecta, this has got the highest levels of lutein and zeaxanthin that you could ever see in any kind of plants. So I worked on this plant for a long time. I did a lot of breeding work to enrich variety, to develop lines, male and female lines that are rich in lutein and zeaxanthin, and thereby develop hybrids, F1 hybrids that could be commercially grown for the extraction of these molecules. So remember, I talked to you about the carotenoid synthesis pathway, right? So if you look into the pathway, I don't want you to be, understanding all of the pathway, but there is a very important molecule, lycopene, and lycopene epsilon cyclase actually controls the gene here. And what we did was, in the breeding program that I was involved with, we did a mutation here at the lycopene epsilon cyclase gene, right? And in this part of the pathway, it actually branches into two, right? In the left part accumulates lutein and the right part accumulates zeaxanthin. So if we take it marigold, right, 15 parts of the marigold have lutein and only one part has zeaxanthin. So very small amounts of zeaxanthin, but a large amount of lutein. But in the mutation program that I did, we created two mutants. So we blocked the pathway here in such a way that the plant was able to create or accumulate more lutein in one mutant, and another mutant, it completely stopped making lutein and made, channeled all the carbon towards making zeaxanthin. So we were able to get two hybrids, one that would only accumulate lutein and the other one that would only accumulate zeaxanthin. And why that is important? Because it gives the company the flexibility to formulate products into different ratios. So for example, if you study into this, right, if you go and look for eye health, the doctors say that the lutein and zeaxanthin should be given to the eye in a certain ratio, and the plants don't make in that ratio. So in order for the supplements to be made, we had to alter the plant in such a way that we get the ratio, thereby the product could be developed by the chemist. So as I talked to you about, there were two mutants, male inbred line, that I developed. The first one was called as KI4537. It had very high levels of lutein, as you can see here, and very small levels of zeaxanthin. And to date, the hybrids that I developed in the program are being grown and extracted to actually using a very much patented process and sold into a number of businesses, right? And the reason why we had to increase the lutein levels, once again, it was a cost reduction strategy. But on the other hand, I also developed a different inbred line called 4662. Both of these are patented and awarded to Chemin Industries. Here, this one here, it is shown here, there is no lutein at all, but instead accumulates very high levels of zeaxanthin. You can see here in the peak. So this is a new product that the company could develop. And we also, based on the male lines that we developed, we were able to go in and create hybrids and also allow the company to have some new products. So that's all about carotenoids. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about antimicrobials. There are several of them, carvacrol, thymol, and thymoquinone that I worked. I worked on oregano, but I'm going to talk about one powerful molecule called as thymoquinone. Again, if you look into the history of thymoquinone, if you just do a Google search, you'll come up with a number of literature. But this is a very powerful molecule. It is an antioxidant. It has got antioxidant activities. It's called anti-inflammatory activities. It's called antiviral, antimicrobial, and as well as immunomodulatory. So a lot of cancer research have utilized this molecule and have shown that they suppress the growth of the cancer cells. So thymoquinone is actually synthetically made as well and widely used, but the plant-based thymoquinone is what has got a lot more interest among the consumers. So Nigella sativa, you all know it is heavily used in India. It's called as black ajwain. It's a very small plant, and it's even now, if you go to the northern parts of India, the oil is extracted from Nigella sativa and exported to other countries. 1 kilogram oil of Nigella pure of Nigella oil, it is cold pressed oil with only about 5% of thymoquinone, is sold at $1,200 per kilogram in some of the companies. But on the other hand, we came up with this plant called as Monarda fistulosa. It is native to the US. It's grown in across a lot of places in the US. Grows very widely. This plant also has this molecule thymoquinone. So to date, there are only two plants that we know can make very high levels of this molecule, Nigella sativa and Monarda fistulosa. Nigella sativa is widely sold in the Asian markets, and Monarda fistulosa is used, sold in the US markets. So I did a work where actually we tried to accelerate the accumulation of the Thymoquinone just by manipulating or doing some post-harvest technology here. So what we did was we took some biomass of Monarda fistulosa and actually harvested them. And because we knew the pathway, how it would work, I wanted to talk about the pathway here a little bit. You can see here in this pathway, there are several intermediary products, but carvacrol actually oxidizes to thymoquinone. For that oxidation to happen, there needs to be oxygen and there needs to be a little bit of moisture and as well as some heat. So what we did was we did some trials where we harvested Monarda biomass, right, and then baled it and actually allowed it to sit in the field and applied some water. And then allowed it to do a in situ conversion of carvacrol to thymoquinone and brought that and then extracted in the lab. There you can see on day 0, absolutely there was no thymoquinone. Everything that we saw was carvacrol, that is shown in green here. But on day 1, day 2, and so on and so forth, as we started applying water, and we started, seeing the increase of thymoquinone, which means carvacrol is being converted to thymoquinone. So this is something that we went in and patented as a process, and we also developed varieties, high thymol or high carvacrol accumulating varieties, so that we can utilize them to, produce thymoquinone. So I think with this, I would like to stop and first thank Annamalai University and College of Agriculture for, extending this invitation. Department of Horticulture for organizing this wonderful web seminar. And as well as special thanks to Dr. Anbarani for patiently working with me and inviting me to give this talk. With this, I'd like to stop and take any questions if you have.
Hello. Good morning, madam. This is Senthil. I'm also a lead speaker in floriculture. Indeed, it's a great presentation. Unfortunately, I couldn't join. I couldn't join. I am more involved in African markets for the last 25 years as a floriculturist. My field of expertise is mostly in flowers. I've done a program with A.V. Thomas. You might be knowing the company. Indirectly, I think they work with you. And we have done some seed production for Ethiopia for A.V. Thomas 11 years before. I registered some of the hybrids also for them in Ethiopia. And also, we had a plan to do the pigmentation program for the marigold thing in Ethiopia. Whatsoever the reason we couldn't, because Africa is it's a different part of the world, so we need to do the things in a slow and steady manner. And whatsoever the reason, we could not continue that particular project in Ethiopia. But being lived in Ethiopia for more than 17 years, I believe there is wonderful opportunities waiting for you in future. Since it's a 13-hour sunshine country. It's located north of equator line. The microclimate conditions are absolutely perfect for rosemaries and all kind of crops. So if any possibility is available for us to work for you in Ethiopia, please count on me. It will be my pleasure to do anything for your extension activities or R&D activities. It will be my pleasure and duty. Thanks, madam. I wait for your feedback.
Yeah, so Senthil, it's very nice to hear from you. I'm totally aware of this Ethiopian situation. Ethiopia actually has a very good climate because of the differences in the day-night temperatures. One of the reasons I think where the West was hesitating to go into Ethiopia was because of the safety. But that being said, I'm very much aware of the activities that are going on in in that part of the world. I do have to tell you that I left Quinone Industries 2 months back. I've joined a startup company in California, working on vertical farming and all the expertise towards vertical farming. But I do have my touch back with Quinone Industries, and I will pass on this information to them because they are actively always looking for new geographical locations for their businesses.
Thank you, madam. The thing is, regards to the safety conditions, I have been living my personally for the 18 years. I was with my family. My children grew up there. They completed schooling education there, international school. It's an amazing place. Unfortunately, the BBC and CNN talks bad about Africa. Even 20 years before, you know that what BBC and CNN used to talk about India, that everybody, they used to talk about India, that we sit next to the railway line. Even today it's happening. But because we have money today, we have power today, we have the market for them, so they talk good about today. So Pepsi and Coke is very much interested in India now, just because of the business opportunity. In my opinion, the two great continents or subcontinent, I would say India and Africa has got a lot of capacities, and especially in agriculture, nutraceutical field, we can do wonders there. And safety-wise, yes, there was some troublesome period because of the changeover from the regime to regime. But I'm in touch with the top of the top. Even I can go to the Prime Minister. I can get the things done for you, financed by the government, financed by the World Bank, financed by IFC. I have the capacity to do everything because for AVT, I was doing it those days. And if any company, not only Quinone or even your startup company, new company, it will be my pleasure because of my connections with the Trade and Ministry of Industry, Prime Minister's office. It's much easier for me to really sit and explain it properly, and we can get it done in a professional base. Yeah, it's a lethargic place. We have to work in it properly. But I'm sure on safety-wise, I feel much safer in Ethiopia, to be very honest, because it's origins of humanity. So Nile starts from there. So I don't need to explain much more. And I'm sure we can look out some future possibilities where we can take a baby steps. Even your startup new company, I understand this monopoly corporates, how they work. They don't care about they don't really care about any technocrats. They care about the money. They care about the monopoly. So what I think, we came out of a place where 1 billion population needs a good human health care. So you have done an amazing research experience and commercial expertise. So why don't you think of your own startup with your expertise? I have a couple of team from India, and we can start something together. So that we can heal the humanity with the nutraceutical field. That's what my request, madam.
You hit upon the right spot, Sendal. That's been always my dream. And after having traveled globally, to many countries, and having done the work that I have done, I am very much in for to have something like this. So why don't you reach out to me? I'll give my cards. I have my contact with Anburani, and I'll reach out to you.
Absolutely. Enoda sandosham.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Romba sandosham. I have a speech. Ninga time irundha attend panna mudiyuma therilla. It will be late for you, I think. Already it's late for you, I think.
It is almost 11 o'clock in the night.
Okay, so sorry, I will ask Dr. Ambrani to get a video recording, which I'm going to present after this.
Thank you. That'll be very helpful. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Ma'am, indeed your presentation was very nice. Very happy to see your work. So it is the need of the hour during the pandemic, because people are more health conscious nowadays and all the companies are looking for such products only. So in this context, it's very useful for us. I have few questions, ma'am. So whatever the
You muted. I lost you. Hi, Sendal.
Hello, Brinda madam.
Hello, Sandal. So nice to talk to you.
Yeah, Brinda, I have one small clarification.
Sure.
So you have mentioned about that age-related macular degeneration. So is it directly because of lifestyle and nutrients, or is there any genetic correlation for that?
No, there is of course genetic predisposition for that. The Western people population have more chances of getting that. But what happens is there are these other factors that aggravate the situation. So these days, in fact, my own family member, one of my cousins, have been diagnosed with AMRD, and it was very surprising because we all used to think that we would never have any kind of those Western diseases, but we have begun to see those in the Indian population as well. And the blue light, the extensive use of blue light have shown to aggravate or trigger that. And plus, in the past, we used to eat a lot of greens, a lot of carotenoid rich food, but nowadays our diet has also changed, which is adding to the problem.
Yeah, sure. Because my mother-in-law is also diagnosed with the age-related macular degeneration. So that's why I emphasized on that.
Yes.
So I really very happy. So as alumni and our classmate, we started our presentations in our blackboard seminar hall, and we have gone up to a level of giving invited lecture. So really very happy. Thank you so much, madam.
Thanks, Sandal. Annamalai University is a stepping stone for me.
Yeah, definitely.
Madam, I want one more question again. This is Senthil again. You know, the chronic health issues like Parkinson is happening very badly everywhere, and also the Alzheimer, the memory loss, that is happening everywhere. Also, this epilepsy is really happening. Autism. These are the real problems. We need to work step by step on every front.
So I want to clarify one thing, Senthil, right?
Yeah.
This is not a cure. Anything that we are saying, the nutraceutical is not a cure. It's only a preventive. So I don't want it to be confused with a cure. Cure is always using medicines, right? It's always the medical doctors that can cure a disease. But what these nutraceuticals can do is to keep us healthy, try and prevent us from getting those diseases. But you're right, there are so many things, so many plants that would fit into that category of nutraceuticals. Like, for example, Nigella sativa, right? One of the things that I've talked to an oil producer in Madhya Pradesh, who sold the oil for $1,200 per kilo. He keeps the oil in a safe and locks it. It's very expensive. Widely used by so many different companies here, within the US and as well as within Europe.
Yeah. The thing is, even when we were growing roses, we were using only the fertilizers and chemicals for protect the crop. And when we were using the regular chemicals, we always have a problem with the resistance because the crop lose the health of the crop. Health. So when we started using organic products, we saw the resistance and the health of the crop has improved a lot. Similarly, I think such kind of nutraceutical will help human health also. It will build the resistance so hardly so that it can prevent completely. I got your point, madam. Thank you for the clarity. Thanks for the clarity.
Hey, Brinda, can you hear me?
Yes.
So hi, this is Karthik here. Now, I've got a question about your patents that you got and transferred over to your company. Now, a lot of your patents are genetic marker patents, right? How easy or difficult are they to legally defend if they were challenged? Or has your company had to defend them?
So many disturbances, so I kind of lost.
Sound வர மாதிரி இருக்கு.
You hear me or not?
Yeah, So what was your last part of the question, Karthi?
My question was like, a lot of your patents are genetic marker patents that you transferred to the company. And I was wondering how easy or difficult it is to defend these patents if they were challenged. And has your company had to challenge or defend these patents in court?
Yes, we have had instances where we had to actually mutually settle out of court even. Fortunately, those were not my patents. So my patents was, okay, so somebody can go into the field and easily steal seeds or a plant, right? That can happen. And for us, for us to prevent, the only way we can do that is to have very high DNA-based markers packed so that we can differentiate it. So to date, I have not had the instance where there was infringement on my patents, but
There's
a lot of echo.
There's a lot of background noise.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah, you're right, Karthi. If you go and look in, there are so many patents. People are always trying to infringe on others, and we have a watchdog in the company who is always looking at what is happening in the patent world. And you will not believe companies like Monsanto and Pioneer, they have actually arrested people for, infringing patents, taking away the germplasm. The company has to constantly monitor, and there are sometimes we'll have to settle outside of the court as well. That has happened.
Okay, I was just very curious because in Australia, almost there hasn't even been a single case that has been won or defended in court. Every case of genetic marker patent has always been settled outside court. So I was just wondering how it was in America.
Yes, it's a long battle, right?
Yeah, it's
so
quite difficult
sometimes, yes.
Okay, thanks.
Brinda, thank you very much. It's a wonderful session, and what we got the information from you are more valuable. Then there are a lot of participants who are all having many questions to discuss with you. I will ask them to put them in chat box. Okay. Whenever you feel free, whenever you feel free time, at that time, please answer for all the questions. I'm having only one basic question.
Yeah.
The antioxidants extracted from edible producers is different from antioxidants from the flowers, no? The antioxidants available from the...
They're all natural, right? It depends what molecule the plant has. One plant will have one molecule, the other one will have a different molecule. As long as they have the antioxidant activity, then they would all fulfill the same purpose, right? So for example, rosemary has carnosic acid, which is hydrophobic, whereas spearmint is hydrophilic. So it is used in a different product.
So thank you, Brinda. You immediately accepted my invitation, and you have spared your valuable time also. This is a sleeping time for you. So on behalf of everyone here, from our faculty and from university, I thank you very much for your presentation. Thank you,
welcome,
Brinda.
You're welcome. It's my pleasure.
Okay, thank
you. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am, for giving your valuable insights on opportunities and prospects of molecular farming. May I now request Dr. C. Muruganandan, Assistant Professor, Department of Horticulture and Organizing Secretary, to introduce our second speaker of this session, Dr. Sendil Kumaran Thangavelu, General Manager, Horticonsult, Ethiopia. Please, sir.
It is a great pleasure for me to introduce our next speakers, Dr. Siddhar Kumaran Thangavelu, General Manager, Horticultural PLC Ethiopia. Today he is going to talk to us about floriculture, blooming global and Indian scenario. He is working with African countries and multinational companies for designing and setting up of high-tech of greenhouses. He is also marketing consultants for different types of cut flowers. He helps in organizing exhibits in international horticulture trade show. He has visited 18 countries for various international projects. Now I invite our speaker to kindly deliver his speech.
Hello, good morning. Vanakkam, ellarukkum vanakkam. I'm very happy to participate in this webinar. I should thank Dr. Shaktivel, first of all. Can you hear me? All of you, can you hear me? Hello? Hello, can you hear me? Hello, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, sir. We are
Okay.
able to hear you, sir.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. It's a great pleasure to be in this webinar. Thanks for Dr. Shaktivel, Dr. Ambrani, the team of Ornamental University. I would like to introduce myself. I'm Senthil Kumaran. I've done my bachelor's of agriculture in Nagpur Agriculture College, and 87 to 91, and master's in horticulture, floriculture, 91 to 93. After completion of my master's in horticulture, floriculture, I worked for 1 year in Nilgiris and I moved to Kenya as a flower grower. So talk about my connection with the Ornamental University. Indeed, it's a really great. Why? Because my dad used to be the head of the research station, Virdachalam, which is 40 kilometers from Chidambaram. So my father was used to be an external examiner to Ornamental University. So we have connections from the roots from the long time before. And Dr. Sivasubramaniam was my father's senior. So they used to collaborate with GNAU, Virdachalam, RRS, as well as Ornamental University when I was a school-going boy by then. So Dr. Ganeshan was there later. And the great thing is now Dr. Trinjana Kumar, who is my father's student, who is, I think he's heading the breeding department in Ornamental University. And of course, Dr. Manivannan, Dr. Shaktivel, so many eminent professionals out of Ornamental University is known to me personally. So that gives me a great pleasure to participate in this seminar. So going to floriculture, I'll just so global scenario over there have been a lot of serious challenges over the year, and still because of the COVID and other things, but still it has been an important sector of horticulture. The global floriculture in the last 20 years, it has been very strong in Australia, Africa, Asia, Europe, and Asia. There's so many new products. I mean, when we are talking about cut flower, I mean floriculture, normally we used to talk at traditional cut flowers like roses, carnation, gerberas, and chrysanthemum. But whereas with the dynamic changes, what's happening in all over the world globally, with the marketing campaigns and everything globally, a lot of new products have been coming out. as a cut flower. So when I'm talking of new products, means a lot of summer flowers are being added in this floriculture. So mostly with the current trends, what's happening in cut flower trade is influenced by environmental legislations and production cost and customer demand, and for the eco-friendly products. When we are talking of environmental legislations, because due to it's all at the moment organic way of growing flowers are happening. So in organic way, that's why the environmental degradation is happening. That's the one thing where people are moving from one place to other place. And also the production cost in Netherlands is going very high. Production costs in going high in developed world, part of the world. And also the customer demand also getting changed over the period of the time. So at the end of the day, a lot of dynamic changes are affecting with the cut flower trade. So coming to the share of the floriculture trade globally, mainly it is dominated by European Union, which is 31%, and China. It used to be US in the past, but now it's China, which is 18.6%, and followed by United States, which is 12.5. So China has taken over the second place compared to US. Of course, among the European Union, Netherlands, France, Italy are the leading buyers of flowers. Of course, there's countries like Norway, Sweden, Denmark, Switzerland. Many of the countries also, they do import, but these are the three countries which normally leads the business. And when it comes to Asia, of course, Japan is the leader of importing of flowers. It also produces locally some flowers. And China, off late, it has been picking up very fast for the last 20 years. When I moved to Kenya in 1994, just after my master degree, China used to be almost meager or negligible in terms of consumption. But whereas with the upcoming economy, China has taken over the good position in flower consumption. Also, South Korea has been a very key importer in terms of imports in Asia. Apart from that, definitely Australia, New Zealand, South Africa, and Middle East countries like the UAE, Saudi Arabia, Oman, and Bahrain, Qatar have been a very important key importing countries in the world. Among the Middle East, Qatar is a kind of leading country in terms of quality material. So having said about the complete global scenario, the global growth is expected to grow 6.3%. And over the next 5 years, it will reach expected to be $57.4 billion. Currently, recently we have been coming up with $42.4 billion, which is in 2019. Whereas in this scenario, I'm not even counting about the Indian scenario. In India, it's totally different. The floriculture has been going for generations, or it has been proven from our epic histories that flowers have been appreciated highly. So I'll come to that Indian scenario later. Let me complete this international scenario. So if you look at the global scenario, global industry, you can see in the map, there are only 4 countries, major flower production countries in the world. There are in Africa, it is Kenya and Ethiopia. Initially, Netherlands used to be the leader of the industry, but later on, Kenya has taken very fast growth, and Kenya has been growing very, very consistently for the last 25 years, where I learned my floriculture after my master's. And Ethiopia has been growing very fast. Of course, Tanzania, Uganda, Zimbabwe, South Africa, they do grow some flowers, but they do grow a very specific type of flowers. Whereas whatever the African countries they have produced flowers, it's exported mostly to Europe or Asia or Australia. Whereas in Latin America, Ecuador and Colombia are the major countries which are producing flowers for America and Canada. So you can see the from the map, how it's shown. Then when it comes to the trend which is changing globally at the moment, you can view from this about 2005 to 2015 picture. In 2005, Netherlands used to be 50% of the market, and it used to produce a lot. Also, it used to export to the rest of the world. If you see, the second biggest producer was Colombia. Even today, Colombia is a very good, it's still having a very good position in cut flower growing, followed by Ecuador and Kenya, Italy, Costa Rica, all these developed countries. So when you come to 2015, of course, in 2021, the scenario is even changed. You can see the country like Ethiopia, which I was talking with Dr. Brinda. The country has picked up so fast, and I have been a part of the industry from the day one of Ethiopian floriculture industry from the beginning. The commercial flower farm started in Ethiopia in 2000. I landed to the country in 2002. So being a beginner to start the flower farm, it gave me a wonderful understanding. Of course, before coming to Ethiopia, 1994 itself, the Kenyan exposure in Kenya, Tanzania, Uganda has given very good understanding why Kenya has been successfully, very successful in the markets, and why Uganda was not successful in particular product. Later on, they changed the product. Then Uganda became very successful. Then when it comes to Tanzania, it could not grow further because it has got its own packets. Though Tanzania is having amazing capacities to grow flowers, but Tanzania could not expand because of some policies. But whereas Ethiopia has been consistently growing, and in my opinion, Ethiopia has a capacity to become leader of flowers in Africa in the future. Of course, at the end of the day, Netherlands controls the business because they have the patency globally of all the flower crops. Most of the crops, they have the patency, due to which they try to control the business. So I would say Netherlands is a key player in global floriculture scenario. The rest of the countries like Belgium, Italy, China, Malaysia, and all, they are all playing smaller role. Of course, Japan is also a good market. So apart from this normal, traditionally, you can see the flowers are being airlifted by the airline cargo. So most of the time, the flowers from Africa, the flowers from Latin America is being exported by the air logistics. So I kickstarted good shipments from Ethiopia to Japan, introduced a couple of products from Ethiopia to Japan. The flowers were harvested in the morning, taken to Dubai in the midnight with different flight. From Dubai, went to Osaka by different flights. So we tried to maintain the cold chain management in 2 to 4 degrees centigrade. It was really challenging in Africa with no internet facilities. We used to have telephones those days, telex those days. So it was really tough, but it was very possible, but we need to plan it out. So that is about air. But when it comes to the flower trade, currently what's happening, very interesting one, it's being shipped by the containers. You can see from Colombia to Netherlands and UK, you can see the green line where you can see that flowers are shipped by containers, refrigerated containers. So these containers, they will pack the flowers there, and it has got direct access to the European market. So it reaches within 7 to 10 days. Mostly the flower perishable life is more than 2 to 3 weeks. So definitely, it's also a possibility by sending sea containers. Also from Vietnam, you can see the country which came in recently is exporting flowers by ship containers, refrigerated containers from Vietnam to Japan, which you can visualize. And a couple of containers are going out of South Africa with the proteas. And Kenya, in my opinion, very few little quantities are going on, but still it is going on. So when it comes to world largest cut flower import countries, when you look at it, you can see there are all the import for their consumption, I mean. So US got a bigger share even today, and Germany, UK, Netherlands, France, Switzerland, Italy, Japan. The rest of the world, I mean, it could be a small quantity in Singapore, Malaysia, or Middle East, or Even a country like Mauritius, they are also importing a lot of flowers. And we do export to Malta, which is a small, tiny land. We do export from Kenya, Reunion Islands. This is a French colony in Pacific Indian Ocean. So we do export. My client in Kenya, she's a French lady. She's exporting flowers almost, I think, if I'm not mistaken, she's exporting flowers to 65 countries around the globe from Kenya by air, everything is. So now I'd like to play a video. It can give an idea. You can see the world's largest flower auction. It's a single commercial complex on Earth for dealing with flowers. This particular, yeah. You can see the flowers are arriving to Amsterdam from all over the world. They are all unpacked by the unpacking agents. They are all presented properly to the markets, auction markets. You can see the flowers are being taken by the trolleys. You can see the flowers. You can see the buyers from all over the world. They are buying flowers. Now the flowers are purchased. 124 football grounds. You see the flowers are all purchased by the buyers from across the globe. They have their representative in the auctions. They are all packed in a consolidated ways, different kind of products from all over the world. They are all packed and ready for the next flight, next truck. For some flowers are flown to Japan from Amsterdam. I hope you are able to see the video. You can see the flowers are being checked with the quality, and you can see the flowers are packed, ready for a re-export to the rest of the destination globally. Even flowers are flown out of Netherlands to America as well as Japan. It's amazing operations. This place is called Aalsmeer. It's located almost like 20-30 kilometers from Aalsmeer. Schiphol Airport in Netherlands. You can see the deliveries are being get ready and is being loaded to the next destination. You can see the flowers are loaded in the refrigerated containers on the trucks. It's taking to the rest of the European countries by such kind of cold chain maintained truck. So that gives an idea what kind of flower auctions are happening, what kind of flower sales are happening in Netherlands. And it comes to Dutch role in the business. 1890s itself, Dutch used to distribute the flowers along the canal because a lot of Netherlands is full of canals. So it used to flower growers used to bring the flowers by canal. They used to sell in the center of city, Amsterdam. In 1995, the flower worth of the flower Holland, I mean, was something like 5.4 billion guilders by then, the Dutch currency. Of course, when I moved to Kenya, it was in guilders. We used to sell flowers in guilders. And in 1995, I moved to Kenya in 1994. So we used to get very good prices for the roses. I used to get the price list from Netherlands in guilders, Dutch guilders. Those days, it was like digging gold from the ground. So it was so fabulous business those days. Even now, it's a good business, but those days was really good. As per the Harvard Research Institutes, the VBA, that is one of the smallest auction. I mean, one of the biggest auction in the Netherlands. Now it's all consolidated called the Flower Auction Holland. PBA used to be one of the clocks, and it really exceeded 1.6 billion euros, representing 30% of the world flower trade. The current trade is turnover is 16.1. That is PBA alone. So when it comes to top cut flowers in global industry, is number one, still roses. Number two, carnations. Roses, when it comes to roses, the countries, I will go back to flowers in details, the countries and everything later. I'll just give out the list now. Roses, carnations, gerberas, chrysanthemums, stromerias, lilies, tulips, calla lilies, Hydrangea hypericums, Lysianthus delphiniums, Lemoniums, Heliconias, waxflowers, Anthuriums and Peonies. These are the major cut flowers which I have known. Of course, there are many other summer flowers are also very much existing in the flower industry. And Netherlands has been a predominant player in the field of floriculture. They are the largest growers of flowers, exporters, distributors to the global industry. When it comes to largest, as I told you, the largest auction centers are located in Aalsmeer, next to the Schiphol Airport. The VBA alone, one of the oldest flower auction, the largest one, 36 sectors, which is 120 football ground, one roof, where the temperatures are maintained 2 degrees centigrade. It's amazing operations. VBA indeed started in 1973 and kept on expanding until 2009. This is the largest indoor flower market building in the world. Of course, apart from VBA, you have Naaldwijk, Rijnsbeek, Bleiswijk, Venlo, Elde. These are the other flower auction in Netherlands. So whenever I go to Netherlands for this flower-related trade shows, without fail, visit these kind of clocks, because these are the clocks are selling flowers. You can see how the industry started. Now, when I mentioned about the canals, you can see in the olden days how the canals are being used and flowers are being brought to the canals. And the olden days, the Dutch people, how they were selling flowers along the canal. And you can see, and when it comes to auctions, you can see the oldest photo, 1934, where the gentleman is carrying the roses. Of course, tulip has been a major flower in Netherlands. So when it comes to particular thing, you can see this was my trip in 2005. The white gentleman, Dutch, he was my unpacker. What he used to do, he used to get the flowers from Ethiopia, and he used to unpack the flowers and he used to present it to the clocks like this. You can see that particular lady who is unpacking the flowers. She's checking the qualities. She's checking everything. His name is Tom Stein. He's having still the company called Global Flowers. He imports flowers from all over the world. And we have two other friends of mine who have got their own farms in Africa. They have good farms in Ethiopia. I mean Ethiopia at the moment. So when it comes to flower, I'm just sharing you some of the photos of the flower clocks. You can see the different kind of flowers which are sold in the market, and you can see the clock when the people are sitting. I mean, the people are sitting like a movie hall, where that the clock will be there, and the highest bidder will be allotted that particular flower. Everything is computer monitored. So, for example, I'm from Norway. I want to buy a particular type of flower. When it comes on the display, I press the button, buzzer. Then I pay the best. Then I take the flowers. This is what they are doing. It's really amazing operation. And coming to the specific products, I would like to show one special flower, which is Peony. It's a beautiful flower, expensive flower. It's being grown in Netherlands. You can see the type of flowers, type of varieties, what they are growing. And these flowers are being even grown in Latin American countries and being exported all around the world. It's amazing flower, very expensive flower. This flower when it is flying to destinations. I have noticed these flowers, peony flowers in Japan, when it is taken from New Zealand or from Peru, Argentina, these flowers are kept under ice box. The temperatures are maintained even 0. So this is a very special flower, very expensive flower. You can see the tulip fields. You might have seen this one in Tamil movies. Many of the Tamil movies, Shankar movies are shot in this. And this is the amazing tulip season happens in Holland. It's also adjacent. And Holland is a very small country, tiny country. So these kind of things happen during the summer. So if somebody is really interested to join the floriculture, they should visit this Netherlands Dutch tulip fields during the summer. And coming to the major flower trade, of course, these are the similar, again the same figures I'm giving. Netherlands alone dealing with cut flowers and pot plants like 8 to 10 billion, and US is like 5 billion. Italy is like 2.5 to billion, and Kenya has been doing roses as well as a lot of cut flowers and pot plants, which is $1 billion annual dollar. Ethiopia, though it is a late comer, they started with a lot of cut flowers, roses, pot plants. It's 550 million per annum. Uganda, Zimbabwe, Tanzania has been doing a lot of flowers as well as cut plants. And when we are saying pot plant cuttings, chrysanthemum is the major cuttings, and many other ornamental cuttings are being exported out of Uganda, Zimbabwe, Tanzania, also South Africa. And when it comes to Morocco and Egypt, they are doing a lot of ornamental dry grasses and some other flowers for the Middle East markets. And the best country in the world to grow anthuriums are Mauritius. And the best chrysanthemums and green foliages are growing in Malaysia. The worth of the business is more than $100 million. So when it comes to Sri Lanka has been amazingly performing well in terms of ornamental green foliage. And Israel has been doing a lot of different flowers as well as dried cotton and some flowers like leucotentron. They are doing amazingly good. And Thailand has been always a special country with orchids and ornamental cut foliages. And Korea, they do roses, also Lysianthus cut flowers. I'll show the flowers in the next slide. Australia has been doing a lot of wax flowers, which is local to that country. South Africa is very especially with proteas. And Ecuador in Latin America has been doing roses and carnations. Colombia is carnations and nostrum. And Panama and Costa Rica are especially for leather fans. Italy, Mediterranean cut foliage is very famous there. Vietnam, of late, Vietnam entered the business very, very recently, like 15, 20 years before, and became a very big, I would say one of the biggest flower growers at the moment in Asia. They supply a lot of flowers to China as well as Japan and Korea. So going to some of the arrangements of the roses, you can see the flowers are sold in bouquets, the one what you see in the right, and some of the flower arrangements and some of the wedding event managements, they are using this kind of arrangements for flowers, especially roses. And when it comes to other cut flowers, you can see on the right, calla lilies. In calla lilies, it's only white, but you have so many variety of flowers of calla lilies. And New Zealand is really doing very well in calla lilies. And they breed a lot of varieties in that. And coming to orchids, there are two kinds of orchids you have, basically. Two kinds of orchids which are sold internationally. The one kind of normal orchid, what you see in India, they are importing from Thailand. They are also grown a lot in Kerala, as well as in Tamil Nadu. There are some pockets. I believe in nearby Kadalur, there are some orchid farms. But there are some very special orchids like Phalaenopsis. They are grown in Taiwan and New Zealand. And the other flowers is hydrangea, very expensive flower. One flower in Japan is selling more than $100. And hypericums, it's a berry. It's a beautiful ornamental berry. And its hypericums are mostly grown in Kenya, Tanzania, Kenya, Ethiopia, Ecuador, and Colombia. Lysianthus is a very tough crop. Beautiful flower again. It's a Japanese breeders are controlling this farm. Japanese are continuously developing new varieties in this. And Lysianthus, I have grown myself Lysianthus in 2001 with a Kenyan Indian company. We were making bouquets for the London supermarkets. So we used to supply every week 350,000 stems per week. So it's a very tough crop, very challenging crop, but it's a very beautiful crop. It's very expensive too. And you can see the other flowers, delphiniums, they are being grown in Kenya and all over the world also. Other major cut flowers you can see here, carnations. Carnations are normally Kenya, Ethiopia, and Equatorial Colombia. And chrysanthemum is our Chandi. It's a beautiful flower. This is also grown much in Malaysia, in Cameron Highlands. Malaysia has been growing very good quality flowers, and I am very amazed to see these flowers being grown in India also in a very nice way in Osu. And coming other good flowers is Gerbera, Australia. Gerberas are grown normally in Netherlands because it's too heavy to pack and export, so they don't grow in Africa normally. And Australia, yes, it's a beautiful flower. It's also a cut flower. It's grown in Kenya, Ecuador, Iran, Colombia. And lilies also again beautiful flowers. Lilies again Kenya, Ethiopia, Ecuador, Colombia. And tulips have been growing mostly in Netherlands and neighborhood European countries. So when it comes, of course, the other cut flowers like lemonium, which is also a beautiful cut flower. It's called commonly statice. We used to grow this one in 2001 along with my statice. We used to export to UK supermarkets. And helicony is a beautiful flower again. It's grown in Thailand mostly, but it's also done in Sri Lanka. India is also growing a lot. Wax flower is another kind of special cut flower. It's normally it's native to Australia. It's also being grown there. And anthurium is again a beautiful flower. It's grown in Coorg in India, also in Kerala, some parts of Kerala and some parts of Karnataka. They are growing this. The major, I mean, one of the best grower, Mr. Garant, is my good friend of mine. He lives in Mauritius. They are the largest growers of anthurium, and they are also breeders of the variety. That's really good to know about it. And Peony, as we discussed, Netherlands and some European countries, and Peru, Argentina, they are growing this flowers. Worldwide, there's a big demand for this flower. And coming to the international scenario, you can see Ethiopia. People talk about safety, all this. It's a blessed country. You can see the project which is started in 2003. And with my consultant who used to be there, we were together. And you can see it's not snowfall, it's the ice, because the temperature goes to freezing level so that you get the hailstone, basically. So you can see the climate country. It's very beautiful. And this is one of the project, cut flower project I established in 2007 as a consultant, turnkey flower project provider. And this is the flower farm which we established in 2003. And that lady she was my supervisor. She's living in Japan at the moment. This was our first harvest in the farm. So she was very happy to the flower. You can see on the left side how we are flushing the roses for the Valentine, because we need to bring the flowers before the Valentine, exactly to the window. I have to bring the flowers. So from 2 hectares, we exported less than almost like 0.8 million stems in 10 days. So we made the money of 250,000 euros in 10 days. And you can see the way we train the crop, how we are bending it, how the shoots are coming up. And you can see the computerized irrigation systems for the whole project. And some of the parameters. I mean, you can see the flower bud size, how it's being measured for the international markets. And you can see some project which we have done with very cold areas. You can see the white pipeline on the top, which is the heating pipes. And the greenhouses are very cold in the night. We used to heat the pipes so that heat the greenhouse with the hot water pipe, so that the greenhouse are really made. It's really given a warm temperature inside. So these are the farms. You can see it in Kenya. Our pack house people, how do they measure the farm? The flowers are being measured in the greenhouses inside for the length, and we are done with the bud size and everything in the greenhouse, in the pack house. In every pack house, we are having more than 300,000 people. I mean, sorry, not 300. I mean 300 people working in the pack house. So a big farm in Kenya, there are people who are working more than maybe 2,000 people also working some flower farms who are more than 100 hectares or 200 hectares. See, this is the project that I've done basically a few years before in Kenya. You can see the wildlife next to it. We have giraffes going on, our friends. So we we really do the projects in an eco-friendly manner, so that we give the rest of the creatures to live in their sustainable in that areas. So this is a very modern. The photos you can see the very the modern rose cut flower farm, where the flower boxes are packed in a very professional manner, and all you can see the flowers are taken in the cold box chambers for the export. So on that box you can see the barcode, the client name, every single stem is tracked, where it's being harvested, when it's being harvested. So coming to the next thing, this is the project which you have done in 2016. It's a big company from Netherlands, Florence. We did a greenhouse project for them as a turnkey. And this lady, normally she is taking the plant cuttings and being exported to Europe. This is a geranium pot plant cutting. So this is a project we did like 4 or 5 years before this. And this amazing project is my client. I have taken their varieties to Japan. We have done extremely well with this variety. And the market leaders in Japan is this Dutch company called Florius. So I have been working for them for the last 10 years, and we have been taking these flowers. This is a flower which used to, per week, we are sending like 300 tons to 4 to 5 tons. We are in the higher end, we go for 7 tons per week also to Japan. Everything is airlifted. So we can see the wildlife which is going around. When you're working there, these are the wildlife you can see. You can enjoy the life, and while doing the flower farms, you can see my colleague. When we go to the farm, the giraffes are nearby. So it's an amazing place. And some of the other flowers, different cut flowers, again, it's a cyclamen, which you see in the top. You have delphiniums, hydrangeas. This is also being grown in Africa. And some of the flowers are being partially in Africa, like anemones, sanicolas, statice, xeryngium. These are the summer flowers, which is also having Japan. And different kind of veronicas, which we have taken. This one is also my Dutch client farm product. We have taken to Japan, and it's doing very well there. And we have proteas from South Africa, and lepidium is another crop which we are taking from Ethiopia. And we have the tropical flowers like heliconia, ginger, ornamental ginger, and the different kind of heliconias also. These flowers are normally grown in Thailand. They are taken to the rest of the world. And the different kind of flowers like bromeliads, also beautiful pot plant and cut flower as well. And this is, wherever we go, we take the flowers, we go as association. So I promote, I consult a Dutch company in Ethiopia. So I take their flowers to Korea. So when we go to Korea and flower show, they do have a similar auction clocks like Netherlands, but they are not done like Netherlands, but they have done a small size, which I dream in India to happen. We will have it. We have small auctions now at the moment in Bangalore, but we would like to have such kind of auctions in India also. It will happen in future. And you can see our team when we are in the flower show. So some of the green foliage also being exports. Normally this kind of green foliage is used for the ornamental arrangements. These cut foliages are normally grown in different parts of the world, like Italy. Italy exports a lot. Algeria, Morocco, all these Mediterranean countries are doing a lot. And we are also doing a lot of projects in Tanzania. You can see my projects are there. I have done a project for some client. I do myself and my Spanish team, we do the turnkey projects. So I work for them as a area manager or marketing consultant. So we do set up farms. So in Tanzania, we set up this farm. There's a seed company of cyclamen, which we have taken some snaps there. It's an amazing project. In this project, we have the elephants always coming next to the fence. It's a beautiful location in Mount Kilimanjaro. We have another mount called Mount Meru, adjacent to it. This project we have done like 2007 and 2008, we did this project there. And some of the different kind of ornamental plants, like ornamental chilies, are also being exported. Also, some sedum plants are being exported, multiplied there. And you can see in Kenyan flower show, some of my clients' products like calla lilies in different colors. You can see the calla lilies in different colors. You can see also sunflowers are being used in Japan for cut flower. It is actually, I've taken these pictures in Japan. So they do use these flowers for cut flower purpose. And one of my clients is a French grower. He's having a farm in Ethiopia. Apart from flowers, what he used to do, he used to bring the grass from the wild forest and he used to dye them out and he used to export the dry flowers like this. And because I'm also marketing flowers of Ethiopia to the rest of the world, I invited the second largest flower importer in Australia. This gentleman, or from a company called Lynch Group. They had come in 2019 to check the quality, and every country has got their own rules and regulations to import the flowers. So they have come and checked their standards. They critically look at every parameter of the crop. So every country has got their own parameters. And coming to the tropical flowers, again, it's Anthurium, Heliconia. Bird of paradise is also a very nice flower. And bird of paradise at the moment, Ghana and Ivory Coast, they are also growing and they are exporting to Europe. And some flowers, very interesting flowers, are Scarbiosa. It's a beautiful flower too. It's being grown in Africa in a small quantity. And some of the pot plants, there's a very beautiful pot plants you can see, primulas and cyclamen and different kind of plants. And you can see in the IPM Germany show, in IPM Germany show, even trees are being exported. So for example, this is the show with the world largest ornamental horticulture show. So we participated as an exhibitor. I participated like 2-3 times there. I visited like a few times as a visitor. And this is the show which gives a platform for the international horticulture growers, especially in ornamental. You can go and pick the tree, which is more than, sometime it can go to $50,000 per tree. So for example, the company which I deal with in Germany, she's importing a flower from Netherlands, from Canada. One tree itself is like $100,000 for Christmas purpose. So it's really amazing thing. And coming to that other flowers like Gypsophila, we used to take flowers from this Ethiopian farm in Africa. I mean, in Africa, and the lady who is importing flowers from almost like 50 countries in the globe. I used to be a consultant for her in Ethiopia. So when she came, we were trying to display our flowers. It's a beautiful phyllis, beautiful phyllis. And you can see the orchid flowers, which are also sold in the international markets in Japan, Europe. And even this, these are the onion family, allium cut flowers. They are also sold in the international market. And very interesting thing is, that when he was in Korean trade show, you can see Israel also exporting the dry cotton. You can see the cotton is growing and dried and exported in containers to rest of the world. So this the lady, she is in charge of the dry cut flowers of cotton. So they have, it's a booth of Israel with their products. You can see Israel, very many countries have presented their cut flowers in Korean trade show. You can see Israel, Ecuador, Thailand, Philippines, China. They are displaying their flowers, what they can export in Korea. Also, you can see Colombia, South Africa, Kenya with their country booth. They're different. I would like to participate in India, I mean, in future with Indian flowers also, because we do have good capacities, but we need to develop that international standards of logistics and everything. So I'll just give you a glimpse of Japanese horticulture trade shows. They do a different kind of trade. You can see, I will play the video. You can see the way of greenhouses. They are totally different in Japan because they have got a lot of typhoon and very strong hurricanes. So the greenhouses has to be something very special. It cannot be like any other part of the world. So when I participated as exhibitor in Japan. So this kind of the thing I have seen there. And when it comes to the cut flowers, Japanese is again a special market altogether. The market taste is different. The flower taste is different. You can see the flowers which they are importing there. It's a beautiful Lysianthus, what you're seeing at the moment. Yeah, it's really, they do consume a lot of Lysianthus. It's a common name is Hystroma, and India is also, we are also started growing these flowers at the moment. So you have, this is the Lysianthus again. And yeah, these are the varieties which is in Japanese. I mean, there is an English name. This carnations. You can see the carnations again, spray carnations. And I would say even Ooty, we can grow similar quality of flowers. I have tested some of the farms. India has got a great amusing capacity to grow such kind of people. So you can see the flowers in Japan. So you can see other different kind of flowers like Chrysanthemum, Peonies again, Agapanthus. Even this one, the ornamental cabbage, that is also flowers. And you can see that. And Japanese national flower is Chrysanthemum, and they do import a lot of chrysanthemum from Malaysia. You can see the different kind of chrysanthemums which are being grown in Japan, also in Malaysia. I'm very happy to say that we can produce same type of quality, same type of thing even in India. At the moment, Hosur, there are a lot of farms being involved in this production, and they are really doing very well. And I could see the international quality chrysanthemums being grown in India. So my future plan is to take Indian flowers also abroad. But leaving aside, India has got its own consumption. So absolutely, we don't need to take abroad because we have got our own local consumption. So when it comes to Indian floriculture, India has been with a long tradition of horticulture, floriculture from the ancient times, which is 3000 to 2000 BC, such as Rig Veda and Ramayana. Current production of flowers is 340,000 hectares with a production of 1.99 million metric ton. Indian total export flower produces 81.94 million. Though the current COVID conditions are very challenging to the Indian farmers, but the future potential is huge because India is sleeping giant. The way I see, after traveling across the globe in flowers, at least I have not gone to US and Canada and US, Australia, but for sure, a complete Europe analysis, Middle East, all the countries, Asia. This part of the world which I have traveled quite often, and I have enjoyed this journey of floriculture in this part of the world. And when in front of my knowledge, China has taken up a huge volume in the floriculture world, and I see India is the time now. From now to another 10 to 20 years, we will be a kind of leader in floriculture. And institute like Annamalai University and the rest of the institutes, we should play a crucial role to build a strong, skilled professionals in this field. So I would love to, do the things with Annamalai University to upgrade the skills of our next generation. So now, the Indian total export floriculture alone $81 million. But yeah, due to COVID now, farmers are having problem. Definitely in future, it is going to be a huge potential. I give you a classic example. One of my Dutch client has forwarded me a Dutch magazine page, which was in Dutch language. I couldn't read it, but he was explaining me one single consignment, Indian event management fellow imported one single consignment is more than 200,000 euros. We are talking of 200,000 euros. Amazing. One consignment. So we have to ask ourselves, are we ready for this future Indian floriculture? I'm sure it's going to be really huge in India. So if you go back to the flower trade in India, traditionally we have been doing loose flowers, marigold, jasmine, tuberose, chrysanthemum, but cut flowers, roses, carnation, gerbera, gladiolus, orchids, tuberose, have been taken shape. Last few decades has been very fast, and Tamil Nadu has been one of the first in the total flower consumptions, followed by Karnataka, West Bengal, West Andhra Pradesh. And whereas the production of cut flowers itself is highest in Maharashtra. They are growing big away. But Tamil Nadu does in the loose flowers. If you look at the Indian cut flower trend, how it has from 2001 to 2013, I need to get the latest figures. It is really, really growing in a very big way. So we have to, you can see that some of the glimpses, some of the photos I have taken in Indian flower farm. I'm very happy to see such a quality rose farms are existing, happening in India. So it convinces me that we do have good quality product coming out. Only thing is the challenge is we have to choose the right microclimate conditions. These farms were taken nearby Bangalore. Now my friend Mr. Ratnavel used to be TNAU MSc Horticulture. He was a consultant for this project. And again, floriculture scope, India being a global giant, emerging global giant, the consumption is going to be huge. So we need to develop our R&D, research and development, to identify and develop the new products, appropriate production technologies for the crop production for the local climate conditions. Complete bulletproof cold chain management systems. What I mean, see, when I harvest the flowers in Ethiopia, morning, let's say Friday morning, I am harvesting the flower. I mean, I means my team. Always when I say I means my team, I don't go and do it, but my team is doing it. So I'm a kind of player in the team. So our team is doing harvesting in the morning. Our team is really grading the flowers, pre-cooled, harvested, packed, departed by afternoon, Friday afternoon to the airport, reached midnight in Dubai, next day morning, next day evening in the local time in Osaka, reached the following day, sold in auctions, 100 auctions. So in 48 hours, it traveled more than 20,000 kilometers. So 10 to 20,000 kilometers we are at the flowers, and it has got maintained 2 to 4 degrees centigrade. This is the bulletproof cold chain management systems. We need to bring it. I dream in India that we should have infrastructure facilities which take the flowers from Bangalore, right from the farm in 2 degrees centigrade, taken by the cold store, put it in the flight. Maybe in future, I know Osur, I was in Osur area yesterday with a flower farmer. I was telling my dream that we should have a flower farm of Osur, Tengani Kotre, harvesting a farm in 2 degrees centigrade, should be reaching Delhi in 2 degrees centigrade. That kind of cold chain we should maintain. That means we should have cold trucks coming from the farm, reaching to the airport. From airport, it goes to the Delhi airport or wherever, Srinagar or wherever. Then it is sold in the cold store again. So that kind of bulletproof I'm talking about, and high perishable logistic transport systems. Again, thanks to the government, central government has taken a great initiative of bringing Kisan Rail. That's really great, really great. So we can really load those flowers in the Kisan Rail or connectivity. So we need to, there should be a collaborated approach on the logistics sector. So also we should have the integrated online section, auctioning of flowers. There must be integrated. That means growers, suppliers, traders, and buyers. There should be integration. There should be a software which is connecting everything. So we should develop such kind of things. If we develop, it will be amazing business. With all above infrastructure facilities, as to, even it is planned in international standard, like South Korea, which is developed in recent years, India can do really a good job. And we play a bigger role in India in future. You can see the flower farm photos which I've taken in Tengani Kotai in Osur area. This flower farm, Gunachatran, Mr. Ratnavel is a floriculture expert, he was a consultant, and Gunachatran is a curriculum TNA student doing extremely good job in Chrysanthemum grower. They are also having a propagation center. You can see the gerbras being grown in, it's all around, in and around Bangalore and Hyderabad. The flowers are being packed here. You can see. And my this thing is my duty now. What I'm doing continuously, I would love to do anomaly students also. This gentleman, young fellow, is called Shankar. He's from Periculum student. He followed me for more than 5 years, and he joined. Sincerely, he took the experience from the local flower company, and he entered into Kenya 3 years before. Now from flowers, he has shifted to avocado. And the way he works in a very focused and dedicated way, he is going to become an authority of avocado in Kenya in near future. The young man doing fantastic job. I'm very happy that I have produced one Shankar from Tamil Nadu. And I would like to look forward so many Shankars to come out of Annamalai University and Tamil Nadu University or any part of India. It's my pleasure and duty to do that. So I conclude my floriculture journey with these points. Just I would like to play a small video. It's amazing words. It's amazing words. So it is my immense pleasure that I have been dreaming for our next generation of India to upgrade their skills, to be a future floriculturist, horticulturist. If they can do anything to be part of it along with Annamalai University, it will be my great pleasure and duty. So with this thing, I thank you, Dr. Amburani, Professor of Horticulture, Annamalai University, Dr. Muruganandhan, Assistant Professor, Annamalai University, Mr. Elangovan, I think, Assistant Professor, Annamalai University, Dr. R. Rajeshwar, Assistant Professor, Annamalai University. Of course, my great friend.
Well, thank you for your valuable time and wonderful presentation, sir. Yeah. In addition to that, you have made the interactions more worthy, sir. Thank you all.
Yeah. Sorry for taking long time. I think I crossed my time.
No problem. No problem,
Time நிறைய எடுத்துக்கிட்டேனா?
Hello, sir.
சொல்லுங்க madam, please.
So, wonderful presentation, sir.
Thank you very much, madam.
And I'm having one basic doubt.
Yes, madam.
With regard to flower crops that you have shown from Ethiopia, many of them are wild flowers. What about its marketing in Tamil Nadu?
No, I didn't get you, madam. Can you specifically, I mean, wild flowers means I didn't get you properly.
You have shown some of the wild flowers from South Africa.
Yeah, that's Protea, yes. Some flowers in Protea, some Scarabiosa, everything.
Some of them are wild, no?
Actually, yeah, it is summer flowers, we call it. Of course, it has been collected from the wild nature and it has been developed by the better breed, and hybridization has happened for several generations of the crop. So then they are developed and they are enhanced with the longevity of the shelf life, and it has been presented in the commercial market. So that can be very much
the market for wildflower is getting increased these days.
Yes, yes, ma'am.
Am I correct, sir?
Absolutely, madam.
The marketing of wildflowers.
Yes.
Hello, sir.
Yes, madam. Yes, I can hear you. Yes. Can you hear me? Hello.
The marketing of the wildflower is getting increased nowadays.
Yeah, true.
What about its role in Tamil Nadu market?
We have Nilgiris. I mean, we have different.
Is there any possibility of introducing flowers from
we can do it.
African countries or any other countries to India?
Yeah. It is. Yeah. It is possible. It is very possible. It is very possible. Currently, we started. Can you hear me? Hello? Hello, can you hear me? Hello, can you hear me?
Sir?
Yeah, I can hear you, madam.
Okay, sir. What will be your answer, sir?
Yeah, actually, it is possible. We have started a company in India.
Okay.
And we are working on it to introduce all the crops here.
Sir. Okay.
Yeah.
Questions from participants? So some
You
of the
can hear
questions
me,
are
no?
kept in chat box. Sir, find time to answer for that questions in chat box, sir.
Okay, madam.
On behalf of the organizing committee, I thank you very much, sir. Immediately you accepted our invitation and you shown a lot of interest for today's deliberation, sir. Thank you very much for your lecture, sir. Thank you. Thank you a lot.
Thank you. It's my pleasure, madam.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Your address on blooming global and Indian scenario in floriculture was very thought-provoking and knowledgeable. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's time for lunch break and rejoin at 2:30. Thank you.